Welcome to the Hound Talk podcast. We're here to talk everything hounds, specifically when it comes to big game. Mountain lions, bears, and bobcats. Along with the game we pursue, we're going to talk about the dogs we run and the families behind them. Enjoy some good conversation between houndsmen as we dive into what makes us live this life we live and how it all started. I'm your host, Dustin Clark. This podcast is sponsored by Cold Strike, a houndsman-owned business that was built by a family for families. Now let's get into it. What's going on, guys? We're back with another episode of the Hound Talk podcast, and today I got Tyson Mathews out of Southern Idaho with me. How you doing today, Tyson?
Good, buddy. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Before we get too far into it, you want to kind of just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, just grew up in northern Utah. Started running dogs with my grandpa when I was young. I took it to a whole new level compared to what he was doing. Met Jamie, I don't know, 9-10 years ago. We went out hunting one time and just kind of hit it off from there. We now have usually around 30 dogs, give or take, throughout the year, and try to stay as busy as we can hunting.
Yeah, I get it. So, trying to think. So, you hunted with your grandpa growing up, but when did you like really start getting your own dogs and going? Because I remember you telling me some few stories of going hunting with your grandpa, but when did you really get into it for yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, for myself, probably, I don't know. He had a litter of puppies when I was probably 15, 16, and I took one of them and messed with it a little bit. And I mean, being young, I was still in high school. I had other things on my mind. I didn't really do as much as I should have with it, but kind of stayed in it till I was about 20. And that's when I kind of got serious. I had some stuff happen in life and ended up getting a little blue puppy out of central Utah from a friend. And man, it went all downhill from there. I jumped all in, and yeah, here we are today. It's just become a way of life for me. Pretty much consumes my life, to be honest.
No, I get it. I know that. I can remember, God, the first time I met you. I don't know how many years it was ago. We ended up coon hunting through. I think it was like Jesse or Steve or somebody that we ended up knowing, and that night went to hell in a handbasket real fast.
Yeah.
That was that night. Had some dogs get into porcupine, and the only thing I can remember is you were getting after it, and it was I think it was a dog called Sprocket. That
Mm-hmm.
dog was full of quills.
Yeah, I remember that night. It was fun. Yeah, I think that was the first time I had met you, and
I
to
think
be
so.
honest, I think I had only met Jesse just maybe a handful of times too before that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a good group of guys. I like hunting with them guys still, and him and Lane,
Good people.
lot of fun with them too.
For sure.
And started making the trips to San Juan with you guys, and that was always a lot of fun.
It was. We had some good times down there for sure.
No doubt.
So with these blue dogs, you had a red dog too when you first started, right? I guess it's
Yeah,
color.
that was my copper dog. I got him out of Tooele. Um, and I've had a few litters of puppies out of him with a few pups that I've kept, but yeah, mainly I stick to the blue dogs. That's just what's worked for me over the years. I get along with them really good. They hunt how I like, so. Um, but that copper dog, he was good. He was half blue tick, half red bone. Collected him a couple of years ago, so I can still get puppies out of him if I ever want to. But yeah,
But,
he was a good dog. I really liked him.
yep.
Ended
So
up
go ahead. You're good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I ended up losing him to cancer. I don't know, 3 years ago. I was down in New Mexico hunting, and Jamie called and said, "Man, he ain't doing good. He's going downhill quick." So I ended up meeting her on the road about halfway between home and where I was, and said the goodbyes. You
Yep.
know how it goes, but that was a tough one.
No, I can imagine the first one you get, one of them first ones that you spend, I mean, dang, their whole life with. It's rough. It don't get easier, but
No,
a couple of them first dogs definitely make it harder. So,
for sure.
so these blue dogs, which is, I mean, anybody that's kind of seen you or been around you knows that it's always a truck full of blue dogs. Where are they kind of coming from? Like, what are your lines behind them? I know you breed your own dogs. Some are papered. I don't know if you have any unpapered dogs or not, but kind of what are the lines you're running and breeding right now, Tice?
Yeah, so all mine are UKC registered. I mean, it don't make them hunt no better by any means. I just like the paper trail and see what's worked and what hasn't in the past, and just it's a lot easier for them to keep the paperwork than me try to just write it down on a piece of paper. I'm not that organized, but uh, I got them from a buddy in central Utah. His name's Kevin Dustin.
Okay,
Uh,
yep, I know.
Most of my stuff's going to go back to him, and I've added some other stuff along the way. I got a buddy in Michigan. I've got a couple pups from him over the years and bred that back into them. They go back to a little bit of a, oh, give me a second. I'm having a brain fart here. Henneman, Henneman blood. They had a little bit of John Henneman blood in them. And I got an Uchman puppy last fall. Long as she turns out, probably try and breed that back into him a little bit. But
A little bit of an
uh,
outcross.
Kevin Dustin stuff's mainly going back to Del Cameron's
It does it.
bloodline. Yeah, little bit of Sugar Creek in there.
So how big are like some of these dogs you're running? I mean, I know, but people that listen probably don't.
Oh, males on average probably 58 to 65 pounds roughly. Um, Females range from about 40 to, probably a little heavier than that, 45 to about 51 pounds on average. I've got one giant, and you probably know the one I'm talking about, old Tug. He's my biggest dog. I mean, he weighs 90 pounds, but
Yeah, Tug's a big
I don't
boy.
I don't know where that came from, but he's the only one I've ever had like that, and he's really never passed it on to his puppies. Uh,
Yep.
Luckily, I mean, I'll probably end up with it eventually, but I
Well, there
try to
was
keep them a little smaller than that for sure. They just don't hold up. They break down way too fast.
that's what I was gonna say. A lot of guys I've talked to, and just with some experience, and some of these other guys that definitely, them bigger dogs, I think hold up all right back east, where they coon hunt and don't put on quite as many miles as some of these, western dogs, depending on what you're hunting. And so a lot of guys that used to have the bigger dogs back in the day have kind of started slowly breeding these smaller dogs to kind of just take a little size off of them. Like you're saying
Yeah.
though, they don't hold up as long and don't last quite as long. Because what's Tug now?
Oh, Tug's going on. I think he'll be 11 this fall,
Is he
but he's
still going strong, or is he pretty slow now?
he's slow. He hunts with Jamie a little bit, mainly just walks the trees with her, but he's pretty much retired. He
Yep.
uh, he ended up having a stroke this spring, uh, and that's been tough. He can't hardly walk. He's got a head tilt now all the time. He looks a little funny, but it's all right.
Looks
It
like the rest of us on a Saturday night at
Yeah,
about 1 in the morning.
yeah, that's for sure. But
uh,
it fits him.
yeah.
So
Well, there was one other dog I'm trying to think. Last time we hunted down in San Juan that was a little bit bigger. I think it was Mag. That
yeah,
sucker. I think Mag had a pretty good old noggin on him, if I remember right. But
yeah, he was a big dog too. He wasn't near as big as Tug. Mag was about 70 pounds, but yeah, I've pretty much lost all my, other than Tug, I've lost all my foundation stuff that I kind of started with. I don't have none of them. Mag was about the only one that, or Tug, sorry. Tug's the only one I've got. Mag I lost last spring. I ended up heat stroking him down there in San Juan, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago. And they're just never the same after that. It's
They're
tough.
not. Yeah, that's, I think I've heat stroked one, and other guys that I've talked to, I think it's different for every dog, but they're never the same after that. They never recover fully. They can't hunt as many days. Or I think it was Mason that heat stroked a dog, and once he got him back to normal and felt like he could hunt him again, he'd rig him, and as soon as he'd kick him out, that dog would run 100 yards and start having a seizure.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I think he kind of grew out of it, because then I think JJ got him and used him a little till the end. But like, I've got one that I heat stroked 2 years ago, and now, after a day or two, especially after a day after a hard race, he's done. Like,
Yeah,
he's not an old dog, 5 or 6 year old dog, but he can't go hunt 4 or 5 days in a row like these other dogs can.
for sure. Yeah, it's tough on them.
Yep, for sure. And I think, like, say, every dog, it affects different and messes with them, and you
No
never
doubt.
you never know quite what you're gonna get when they come out of it, for sure.
No, no, you don't. But you just, I mean, live and learn. You just
Yeah.
do what you can for them from then on. I mean, I always watch Mag real close, and I'm sure anyone that heat strokes a dog just is
Yep.
is careful with them from then on. You got to watch them real close and just learn. You can't push them like you used to, but
Definitely. Those longer, harder races, sometimes you got to pull them instead of let them finish, or do, something like that, for sure. So with these dogs you're running now and everything, you're hunting all three, right? You're doing bobcat, lion, and bear with them, right?
I'll do a few bobcats through the year, but mainly just lions through the winter and bears from about April to November when they start going to sleep for the year. But yeah, bobcats would be fun. I'd really like to do more of it. And this winter I plan to, where I wasn't guiding so much or had a good amount of time off of work. But man, I found one bobcat track through the whole year, and it was a few days old. Crazy. Them fur prices went up a little bit, and I don't know.
Makes a difference.
People just hammer them after that. I guess
Yep.
I don't know.
Which you'd probably prefer bear over anything, though, don't you? You like hunting bears a little more than lions, or
I used to, and I mean that San Juan stuff's really fun. You can get down there and cold trail a bear track, or when I go down and hunt with my buddy Alan or whatever, it's fun hunting bears the way he does. But the more I do it, uh, lion hunting in the dirts, it's fun. I'd really like to get into more of that. I mean, I've done a little bit of it, but I for sure ain't no dirt hunter.
yeah,
Not like some of them bigger names.
yep.
I mean,
No, I
you've been around the bigger names a little bit more than me, and man, it'd be fun to see some of them type of dogs work. The Meekums or the bigger staff. There's those Whitaker brothers over in Colorado, I think. I
yep.
mean, they've some of them guys that got dirt dogs. It's cool just to watch videos they post online and whatnot, but to see it in person would be awesome.
It is, and I think that's what ruined me too. Like, I love bear hunting. I like hunting. I'll hunt in the snow, but man, I hunting with some of those guys and being able to experience and see them dogs, it ruined me. I'd rather go hunt a dirt lion.
No,
than,
I hear you. Yeah, I
you
bet it
know,
has.
and depending on how you do it, it can be a hell of a lot more work and a lot more walking than a bear race too. Them guys that ride mules, there's a reason they do it, and that's the way I enjoy it, for sure. I mean, I don't have mules of my own. That'll come sooner or later, but it it is. You just, and a lot of people that see that and enjoy it are the guys, that are in it for the dogs and love watching the dogs work and seeing different types of dogs work versus just the tree. I mean,
Yeah, for
you,
sure.
you go and you rig a bear and you kick them loose, and unless you know the country good enough and know where them bears are going to move, a lot of times you don't get to see them dogs during the race. You could see them across a canyon a little
Yeah,
here or there when they cross a road, but these guys that follow these dogs on these dirt tracks, especially with mules and that, they're with them the whole time, getting to experience that and watch them dogs truly just go to work and go to grinding, and that's why I like it. That's why I really enjoy watching that side of it for sure.
yeah, yeah, I agree completely. It's for sure a big part of it to just go and watch them dogs. It's neat.
It
Um,
is.
I kind of set out last September. I wasn't going to waste the time going up to central Idaho where we hunt. Um, just didn't have that much time off of work. I came home for I think it was like 6 days, and then I had to go back out on the road working. But I knew there would be a lion somewhere right here around the house, and luckily the first day I went out, I cut a nice tom, and it took 5 days to go and catch him, and it was just all hiking. I mean, you'd start at 7 in the morning. It took us 5 days to catch him. That final day we caught him, it was cool. I mean, I walked with the dogs probably 95% of the way. We probably 3, 4 miles as the crow flies down through some canyons and came down into this pine, big pine canyon. Trailed them up out of the bottom, and that's where they jumped him. Was just on a sagebrush hill, and I mean that's cool to me
Yeah.
just to see that where they go. You learn so much more about them too. I think just following the dogs like that.
Oh, you do. You learn how them lions travel, where they travel, and kind of, and if you do it enough, you'll start to realize some patterns that they have, whether it's the same line you've trailed before or a different line. It seems like they kind of have them same places they cross or these same canyons they'll travel through, or like these toms. When they consistently come through, they'll scratch in these same canyons, whether it's at the same tree or 10 yards down or whatever by them big pines. You learn so much more about how them lions travel and their behavior. And I mean, for me, it's helped me be a better hunter. When you're out in the dirt, like you're saying, you can't see the track the whole time, so you're relying on them dogs. And sometimes in country where tracks are hard to come by, dogs make a lose. If you're with them, that's where you come in to try and help them. Be like, well, I think we're kind of going this way. You'll circle out with the dogs and try and help pick up that lose. And if you know a little bit about the lions in your country and how they're traveling, you're being like, well, if he was headed this way, unless something weird happened, he isn't going to cut up or down. He's going to kind of head towards this saddle or towards this canyon where these trees are, and you kind of just leapfrog it and hope that you have enough knowledge to learn that you guessed right and you can hit the track a little farther up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's probably one you'll remember for a long time, though. Trailing him for 5 days and finally catching him. That's the stuff that's rewarding as hell. You put in that much time and that many miles just to tree him.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, I had fun all 5 days, but I mean, it gets frustrating. There was times. In fact, the fourth day, I said, "Hell, I ain't going back." And then the boss said, "We got to go out in 2 days." I said, "Well, hell, I'll just go give it one more try." And that's all it took. I mean, he was kind of at the end of his loop. I think he kind of was holding up there. He was running with a female too,
Mm.
and but yeah, I'll remember that one for a long time. It was a lot of fun. Them lions down by you guys though, I mean, they're completely different than up here. I mean, you know a little bit about it
Yep.
because you grew up here where I am, or just over the
Over.
state line. But
Yep.
them lions down in Arizona, even Utah, you get down, I feel like around Beaver, and south, they travel different,
They
travel
do.
longer, got bigger loops. I feel like
I,
I don't
I
know why, but
Well, I think, I mean, some of it I think is definitely the country, but also I think what affects how some of these lions travel, especially down here, and I'm still learning this Arizona side of it, but the game is a little more spread out, especially in this desert country. You don't have the winter, the snow to push and you know conglomerate all the deer into certain sections.
Yeah,
Whereas, like, when it snows up home for you, you know where the deer are. They're going to be down low. Them lions are going to hang just above them, come down, whack one if they can, and then kind of go back up. But those deer kind of just staying in their same spot after they've migrated from wherever they were in the high country to the winter grounds.
yeah, that makes sense.
And like, down here in this desert where they don't get the snow, the deer don't have to. I mean, they definitely change their habits when it's hot, for sure, when it's the 110 degrees down here. But in the wintertime when it's, 60 to 80 degrees, they just know where their water is, and they're spread out. They don't have to be as concentrated. So I think them lions have to definitely travel a little more, for sure.
That makes sense.
But
Yeah,
and that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong as hell. Who knows? But I definitely have noticed that they, from talking to guys and that they definitely travel different down here than like up in northern Utah, for sure. Especially when you go hunt them in the snow. You
oh
know, you,
yeah,
you don't get near as long a race for the most part. If you get a night old track, you're not going to have a 10-hour race that you trail all day and don't catch it.
for sure.
Where it's, down here you get some of these night old tracks. There's some of these toms that, man, they just decide they want to go on a walkabout, and they'll cover 20 miles in a night, and you'll
Yeah,
you'll you'll trail 10 miles, and it's good trailing the whole time. It's not like they're slowing down or anything. It's just good, and then you got to pull them because it's getting dark, and you put on the next day and put on another 10, and you still don't catch the
yeah,
sucker.
they're crazy. Them big toms, they're a whole different animal. There, if they set out on one of them trots and they're just covering country, either they got somewhere in mind or I don't know, whatever.
Yep.
It's it's crazy the amount of country they can cover in just a short amount of time, really.
Well, definitely, and you think, you get even some of these smarter females that they'll hear the dogs coming, they'll go hop through some rocks or whatever, try and give the dogs a little trick, and then they hit that long trot, and them dogs, by the time they figure out that lose, they've lost 10 minutes, and she's long trotted for 10 minutes. So every time she pulls her little trick, they just get that much farther and farther behind, unless you get lucky and a dog just leapfrogs her trick and ends up hitting it right. But
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it's definitely, like, I mean, and that's the challenge of it. Not that they can't do that in the snow. I mean, they sure can, but in the snow, I think sometimes them dogs can just figure out them loses a little better.
Yeah,
Especially
it's
you get
a lot
some of
easier for them.
well, the scent, and then you get some of them old dogs they'll just be messing around, and hell, half the time they'll look for tracks in the snow, and they'll
Yeah,
go they'll go check them versus completely using their nose until they get it, get one they can smell. But
yeah, for sure. They learn to check tracks just
oh
like
yeah,
us.
they'll sight trail a track for a little bit before they can smell it. I've seen some dogs do that too.
No doubt.
But
Have you been able to lion hunt Arizona too much?
yeah,
Excuse me. Since you've
yep,
been down there?
I I haven't been able to bring my stuff down yet. All my dogs are still up in Utah, but I got out for a few days here. It's been a week or two ago with a couple of guys, and we trailed both days. We were riding mules, following dogs. It was in some new country up by that Camp Verde country, and I mean, it was good. It was good to get out, watch some dogs work. They had a couple pretty nice dogs, and we were able to we hit a tom. We didn't know we had hit a tom, but we hit a lion, and the dogs were, a couple hundred yards up, and it was just hard country to see a track, and so we kind of just let them go, and they were taking it good. They cooked up over the top, and we ended up going up and listening to them for a ways, and then coming back around and just kind of hit the road below them and went down. Man, I'll bet they went 3 or 4 miles, and then we noticed they started to slow down a little, and a couple dogs started falling out. So we figured they were going backwards, but we weren't 100% sure. So we finally got to where the lead dog was and went up a canyon, and you could see where this tom had been up and down this canyon two or three times with scratches going both ways. But the one that they ended up kind of coming towards, we figured they were going backwards.
Oh yeah.
And by that time it was late enough in the day that we just were like, yeah, we can't go back and restart them. So
Yeah.
we we went out the next day and went down by the river, and it was just some good, like, I mean, not real bad ledges, but some ledgy country that we figured a couple of them lions would travel through, and we just kind of picked a line to ride the mules around and ended up hitting a female is what it looked like to me. But like say at the same point, we didn't couldn't see the track where the dogs hit it. The dogs made it probably, they went down through a canyon that we couldn't get the mules through except for in one certain spot, and it was a pain in the ass there. So by the time we got up to where the dogs were kind of sitting and trailing, but they were kind of going slower again, I was able to get down in a wash and find the track, and they were going backwards that day too. So
Oh,
it
nice.
was, but either way, it was good to get out, get some trailing in, and just kind of learn some new country. And that I'm excited for this fall. We're moving out of Phoenix. Thank the good Lord. I mean, I live in Peoria, way out, like as far away from Phoenix as you can get. But we're still in this valley where it's hot, and I know guys that live down here and have dogs, but man, I just there's too many people. I don't enjoy it. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
No, I
move.
hear you.
We're gonna move an hour and a half north up to some country around Prescott area, and then as soon as we get moved and established, I'm going to find a place and I'm going to bring some dogs down and start hunting 3-4 days a week if I can, and really get after it and just learn country. That's what I like. I mean, I think you're a little like me. You like to go see new country and hunt different places. I mean, you've probably hunted what, 4 or 5 states on the west side, or more than that?
Yeah. Utah, Idaho, New Mexico, Arizona, hunted Wyoming a little bit, kind of back, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago with a buddy, but didn't spend a whole lot of time there.
Yeah,
Yeah, five states, I guess.
yeah.
But
That's
it's fun to go see new country and learn, what the animals are doing because they're completely different in most every spot. It's
Oh, I agree. I think there was one time you and I were talking about how different them bears up where you go hunt in central Idaho versus them bears in southern Utah, how different they run.
yeah, yeah,
And
they
and
run a
you,
lot harder.
yeah, you'd know more of that to me because I've only hunted up, kind of where the area that you hunt in central Idaho. I've only hunted it once, and that was when I went up with Jesse, and that was back when me and Jesse just had some okay dogs. We didn't really have bear dogs, and I think we ended up catching, like 4 or 5 bears in 3 days. But
Yeah.
you'd know a lot more. I mean, what they run harder? Do you see many other differences other than that?
Um, yeah, just run harder in southern Utah. They're kind of pop up bears in central Idaho, from what I've seen. I'm sure down here around my house, southern Idaho, where you can find a few bears, they probably run a little harder. Um, but yeah, just pop up there in central Idaho for the most part. I mean, and it's tough to cold trail a bear up there. There's so many bears or there used to be anyways. I mean, it's kind of went downhill, but um, it's hard to cold trail a bear up there because I mean, you could put out on a cold track and they could go 200-300 yards and jump a completely different bear. And you catch that one in 5 minutes. It's just
Yep.
different. I don't feel like the bears up there travel either near as much. Just like the lions, the bears have kind of been the same. I mean, you can find one once in a while that's just traveling up there, but for the most part, they don't travel a whole lot. Their feed, I'm sure, has a lot to do with it. Their food's a lot better up there compared to southern Utah, Arizona, stuff like that. It's just so dry down there, and just stuff doesn't grow near like it does with the water up there in central Idaho. But
Yeah. Oh, I see that for sure. I think when I was up there, I was surprised at like all the low ground cover, just how green it is, and all of that compared to, I mean, how you go hunt down on the San Juan or the LaSalle's and all that stuff. I mean, hell, half the stuff you're hunting in is desert, and then
Yeah.
they either you catch them down there or they make it up higher into some timber country and go from there. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think food gotta play a big role in it for sure. As much as they travel, if they got plenty of food and water, unless they're hunting a female, they ain't got no reason to leave unless they're just
No,
get a
for
wild
sure.
pair.
Yeah. And I mean, there's guys that claim spring bears are always meaner, fall bears are always meaner. I've depends on the year from what I've seen. Southern Utah's always got meaner bears compared to Idaho for sure, but as far as like a season when they're a little more aggressive towards your dogs or whatever, I haven't really seen. It can just depend on the year.
I,
I don't know
I,
what changes it, but
yeah, I think it's a little bit could be the year, the season, but also just the bear. I mean, if that bear's had itself dogged a few times and dealt with some crap, it's not going to be as pleasant the next time, I'm sure, depending on how much they've been ran or things like that. But I think sometimes when they're ornery, they're just ornery and there ain't nothing you can do about
no,
it.
no. And I mean, you've seen them bears as much as I have. You can put 30 dogs behind some of them that ain't gonna tree, and it don't matter. Their mindset is they're not gonna tree, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
You ain't gonna force them up a tree, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah, and I think size can play with it a little bit, but man, sometimes you get some of them big bears, they just ain't ornery,
Yeah,
and they'll go up a tree. I mean, you look at that bear that you caught for Jeff. I mean, that was as big and nice a bear as you see for the most part, and I don't think your dogs had real too hard of a. Did they walk him much? Do you remember that day?
no, man, we rigged him just out on that road from camp, uh, where we parked to walk in. They just trailed down there. I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, you could see on the GPS, and you could hear him pretty good down in there too. That just they jumped him right there. He'd been just flipping some rocks or something, I guess.
Yep.
Would be would be what I guess, anyways. I bet he ran 400 yards. Would be my guess, just the way it looked on the GPS. Popped right up a tree. I don't think he was mean at all. And yeah, he
No,
was he was giant.
that was a, that was a nice bear. And that's, I mean, and where he was at and the country he was in, I mean, how you couldn't ask for anything a little better on that. Because if he'd have hung her right and went down into that stuff down there, it could have been a hell of a long day.
Yeah, we'd have been in for some hiking that day. I think if
Oh
he
man,
if he would have done that, I think if he would have went down further, that's where you gathered up a few of them dogs. I think just a few days later, that
yeah,
Emma dog of Jamie's, and I think Sage was
yeah.
down there.
I had
I can't
sage.
remember.
It was it was sage and what's the plot?
Oh,
Saber. I
Saber
Yeah,
was down there.
I pulled both of them because you're right. We didn't find nothing the next day, and I was like, the hell with this. That was back when we were all young and dumb. I was gung ho to go hike into that
Yeah,
god awful shit down there, and I ended up starting a bear down there with some younger dogs, and they took it up almost to the road, circled below the road, and my dogs started getting tired, and that's I think when you and Jesse kicked some in, and it was yours and a couple of Jesse's and that old dog that dog Elaine's that just had no brains.
yeah, Spear.
Yeah, man. I ended up when I got there, it was those two dogs of Jamie's, I think, that were in the hole, and the other dogs were sitting up on top. And I was just sitting there taking some video after I had pulled Jamie's dogs out, and next thing you know, that spear dog comes over, about knocks me off the cliff, goes in and just goes to fighting that bear.
Yeah, he was suicidal for sure.
Oh man, he didn't care. He was pushing me out of the way to get there. It was lucky I didn't fall. I mean, I was only like 10 or 15 foot drop, but it still would have hurt.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I remember that because I yeah had walked out with all them dogs and came out on the road. And I think that's when I ran into them guys that were from Southern Utah. They're like, "Man, we'd pay for a bear track." I was like, "Well, you gotta get off the road and go for a walk."
Yeah.
And that's back when the San Juan was still pretty good. I mean, yeah, we watched. I think we watched them, Russ and Allen and them kill that bear that next day right after you killed Jeff's, and then I'm trying to remember what else we caught that trip, but it was a good trip. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
I
We
think
always
we
used to have fun down there. A
yeah,
lot of good times down on the San Juan.
yeah, I think that's when Shay come for the first time too, when he started getting back into dogs, and man, he had them couple of them walkers that were like little Shetland ponies at
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. I just
Oh,
went and hung out with him a few days ago, and we were just talking about that. He had some big old Clydesdales there.
oh, he did. They were some big dogs, just big old tall dogs for sure. But well, I mean, you're getting ready to just start into bears this year, right? When are you going to start heading north?
Yeah, I don't know. I was supposed to make a trip down to the San Juan like an idiot. I can't stay away from that place still, even though it ain't very good. But
Man, it
luckily
ain't.
that got canceled. So
Yeah,
I
it
don't
just
know. I'll give it another week or two. And I hate getting around the snow. The older I get, the less I like snow. I mean, I
yep.
used to love it. It didn't bother me, but yeah, probably another couple weeks. I'll start kind of hitting it hard. Maybe get some baits out. Might put a few right here around the house somewhere. But
Yeah,
that's
that's one thing that's a little different with Idaho is you guys can set and run off baits, right?
yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's good in ways and it's bad in ways. I'm sure you create bad habits out of it sometimes, but I mean, when you got a camera like a cell cam on it and you get a bear picture and you're only an hour away, it's nice to be able to go dump a bunch of puppies on there and know you're on a bear and not have to worry about the bullshit that goes along with running a bunch of young dogs. I mean, they can trash from there, but
Yeah,
at least when you start them, it's good.
yeah, you're going the right way and starting something that you're supposed to be after for sure versus just a rig. And I mean, I when I rig, I try to find the track as much as possible before I'll kick something out, or I'll let one dog start it and try and find it from there. But sometimes you just can't see it, and you got to trust them.
Yeah, just send a few dogs and hope they're going the right way.
Yep.
And I mean that bear we were just talking about for Jeff, we rigged it and I started looking for a track. I think I turned 7 or 8 dogs out right off the bat. Just let them find it. We ended up finding it on the road, and I'm like, man, they're going the wrong way. This sucks. Luckily, they hadn't gone very far, so we toned them and turned them back around, and sent them off going the other way. But yeah, it happens. I mean, you'll go backwards
Oh yeah, it does.
fairly
It's a
fairly
gamble.
often. But I mean, I've got a few dogs to be honest. I feel like some of them do know. I don't know how they know, whether it's the scent or what it is, but I feel like some of them do know when they're going the wrong way. Emma used to be pretty good at it. Uh, she could kind of figure out if they're going the right or wrong way, and a lot of times if she came back,
Yeah,
he could send them the other way. But it's all just a gamble
yeah. Oh,
on the rig.
I agree. I've had a dog or two that I've thought, man, they don't get it wrong very often, and when they do, you'll see them go out 300-400 yards, and they'll kind of slow down, and all of a sudden you'll see them coming back, and whether it's that they're that smart and figured it out, or they just figured out the scent was getting a little weaker, and I think some dogs just definitely got a little more brain than the others and can figure it out a little quicker for sure. But
No doubt. No
so
doubt.
so I don't know. Are you hunting as hard now as you were probably like 6 or 7 years ago? 'Cause I know you were
No,
you were hunting
no.
hard back then.
Yeah, I so we had a mink ranch up here in northern Utah. It had been open for like 80 years. The year we closed it back in 2018, since my great grandpa had started it, and it just got tough. For prices dipped. You couldn't really make a living. It didn't make much sense to keep it open and barely scrape by. Or some years you'd even pay to be keeping the stupid things. So we closed it down in 2018. And after that, I kind of just went to hunting for 3, 4 years. Every day.
Yeah.
And man, you can make dogs quick when you're doing it. But yeah, now I'm not hunting near as much as I'd like to be, but hopefully someday we'll be back to it where we're hunting 5, 6 days a week. But
Like you say, that's the easiest way to make dogs is to have the time to put into them like that.
no doubt, yeah, you figured it out kind of when you got away from the plumbing deal and
Yep.
everything. It helps a ton to just.
Oh,
I mean, even
big
if you're not
time.
chasing every day, if you can go out there and walk with them dogs and just be doing something with them, they're learning something all the time, especially them young ones. They're just soaking it in. You get
Yeah,
out there and you're walking by elk tracks, you're walking by deer, and I think that's not the only way to trash break them, but it definitely helps.
oh
Then
yeah.
them young dogs watch the old dog smell it and just walk by, and them young dogs just learn hell. I guess that's a simp they shouldn't be chasing.
Yep. I agree. The more time you can put into them, especially before in that like 6 months to a year, whether they're trailing or going with the older dogs or not, just time in the woods and time being spent messing with them or doing something is huge. And then once they kind of hit that year mark or whenever that dog itself decides, oh shit, them dogs are going, I'm going. And
Yeah,
that's that. If you can pour the time, then is I think what really will make that dog when it hits that 2, 3, 4 year old mark. As much as you can put on it in that time, put it on and trail and get time into it makes a huge difference for sure. And it's hard. Guys that can do it full time. Like when you were hunting or when I was going real hard, you could make a dog by a 2 year old, a dog you
yeah,
trusted. Whereas these guys that hunt and nothing against them, man. Everybody hunts as much as they can or as they want to, but these guys that can only hunt 3, 4, 5, 6, even 6 days a month because they're just hunting weekends or whatever they can. Oh, man, it's hard to make a dog bite too.
it is. Yeah, it is, and that's where I mean we were training some dogs. Jamie still does a little bit of it for the public, but I kind of had my fill of it. But
Yeah.
it's I couldn't personally do it, but I could see there's a need for it for some people where they can only hunt 3, 4 days a month or whatever the case may be. It helps to have people that can, whether it's a buddy or whether you pay somebody to take your dogs for a couple months and just hunt the guts out of them. It
Oh, it's
helps.
it's worth it. I mean, I won't say that I never did it. When I first moved to southern Utah from northern Utah, I knew that spring that I was just like, I'm not gonna be able to hunt bears. Like I just started working with a new guy, couldn't expect to take off a lot of time. So I shipped him over to Mason. Mason ran a
Yeah,
couple dogs for me. He was hunting full time for BTO. So them dogs were getting hunted 4 or 5 days a week.
yeah,
And that made a huge difference just for me to get them back and to go out that next summer during the pursuit season and just had dogs that knew what the hell was going on. You
for
know,
sure.
they and so yeah. I mean, and I'm like you. I hunted some dogs for other people. That I'd bring in and help pay for gas money and that, and it makes a difference for them. Just like it did for me when I can go hunt that dog 20 to 25 days out of 30 days. That dog seen got hunted more in that month with me than it did in first 6 months or 10 months of that other guy hunting it,
Yeah,
just because
for
they don't have
sure.
the time, and so
For
it just
sure.
it helps, and so yeah, I got people that can't do it. I mean, I think that's a great way as long as vet the guy you're sending it to, and it's not you're not getting taken advantage of, and the dog ain't getting hunted, but also making sure that the guy's good enough hunter and has decent enough dogs that your dog's actually seeing bears or lions, not deer and elk.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You want to do your homework on it, but
yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share of deer and elk races. I'm not immune to it. I don't think anybody's immune to it, but
oh yeah, moose has always been my bad one. I don't know what it is about them things, but
oh, I
I'm sure
that
you've had a few. I don't know whether they smell similar to a bear or what it is, but
I
man,
don't
you
know.
you can have trash broke dogs. I mean, you won't have a deer or an elk race for months, even years sometimes. I had some dogs I really trusted, for a long time, and you just don't hunt around them moose very much, so it's tough to trash break off of them. And you go out free casting, and you bump a moose out of somewhere, and you're like, oh man, this is good. And then next thing you know, you end up seeing
Oh,
the moose or see the track they're on or whatever. But yeah,
yep,
they've always been my nemesis, I guess. The
yep.
moose, they're tough to trash break off of.
Oh man, that's back like when I used to hunt coons a lot between skunks and porcupines, and I can finally get off those. And once I get going down here, I think it's going to be a challenge for some of these dogs I bring down because down here they got javelina and you got them damn Cotamunde, so that's going to be a whole new adventure in itself there, just working and getting some of these older dogs to where we're broke off of that and then starting pups with that as well. It's, I'm looking forward to it, but it's definitely going to have its ups and downs when it comes to that stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you'll have some challenges. You gonna be able to get a bunch of your old dogs
Yep.
back down there then?
Yep. So yeah, I was lucky enough like you and I've met some great people through the hound world, and so I sold quite a few of my dogs when I moved because I knew I wasn't going to be able to hunt, but I was able to keep four of my original dogs that I had placed with, Hunter's got a few, Steve's got a few, and stuff like that. That was just kind of a deal I worked out with them. That when I decided, was able to get them and bring them back down here, that I could just, go grab them. And so I'll have some good dogs to start with for sure. I'm not going to be starting over from scratch and that. So I
That's awesome.
definitely got lucky that I had some people that I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going to happen, and go from there. I didn't expect them to keep 14 because that's what I had when I started moving them,
Yeah,
but I was able to sell a few to some good people. I gave a few some older ones that I knew were just decent dogs, but just gave them to some people that I knew it would help, and then was able to keep these ones around. And and I've been able to go up, like and hunt with Hunter and hunt with my dogs here or there and stuff like that. And they're getting a hell of a first class education that I was just lucky enough that him and I are good enough friends that it all worked out that way. You
for
know.
sure. Well, that'll help you cut through some of the bullshit when you get them back and move back down there, anyways. To have
Yeah.
some that you've trusted in the past, anyways, and they've been hunted, not
Yep.
just sitting on a chain while you've been through the moving process and everything. I mean,
Yeah, and then
that'll
that's one reason why I decided to sell some of the dogs I did is because I was just like, man, they're in their prime and it ain't fair for them to sit on a chain. I could have found a place just to put them on a chain and had someone take care of them for a year for me, but I didn't feel like I was doing them dogs justice. It ain't fair for them to go sit on a chain for a year and a half, and then not get hunted because man, that's what they live for.
yeah,
I don't want to take it away from them any more than I want to take it away from anyone else. So,
no doubt for sure. I
uh,
hear you. That's
so
good.
yeah, yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready for it. I've been fortunate enough to get out a few times over the past little bit, and got caught a couple lions, and I caught a few bears right before I moved down. Was able to go grab my dogs and borrow a few buddies, and got a few caught before we moved and things like
Heck
that.
yeah,
But so
sweet.
it definitely ain't the same, but it's still good, and my kids they're ready for it. They keep asking me now that they know they're coming back. They're like, "How much longer? How much longer?"
Yeah, yeah,
They're ready to go chase some bears. They're itching for it, and I'm gonna be taking some bear hunters this fall and getting some stuff figured out that way. So it'll be good. They're excited to get after it for sure.
that's good. Good deal.
So, well, we're getting kind of a little closer on what I like to call for time, but over the years, and I'm sure I already know the answer to this, but I'll let you answer it for everyone else. All the dogs you've bred and dogs you have and stuff. What's the one that kind of just sticks out over all the rest that you're like, God damn, I'd like to have another one of that one or 10.
Oh, man, it's hard to single out any one. I'd probably have to go with two of them, to be honest. Mag and Tug.
Yep.
Um, Mag was just a natural cold trailing dog. That's all he wanted to do. And Tug was kind of the same way, and he had an unfortunate incident with Jamie back when we first met. Uh, I was letting her take some of my dogs to kind of help her, and it helped me, keep my dogs while I was busy on the farm. Um, he ended up having his Achilles tendons, both of them rupture. Um, Ended up doing the surgery. It was like $5,000, $6,000. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it was expensive. But
Yep.
he was pretty much done after that. But that's probably my two that have really stood out to me and helped teach me a bunch. Just I followed them around for years, just learning lions, learning a few bears. I just that taught me to, or not really taught me, I guess. It gave me the love for just trailing, just a good trail hound. I learned to love them dogs that would just stick their nose, whether it was on the dirt or in the snow. Um, just sit there and grind out a track. I love it. It's awesome. It's pretty tough to beat them too for what I've got.
Yeah. No, I get it. I figured Tug would be one of them, but I didn't know if you'd throw Mag in there or not. And I mean, like I say, those dogs. I think you learned as much from them dogs as they learned from you. Over the years, and you learn kind of what you're after in a dog and special traits and in different ways. Some guys love a dog that can just pick his head up and burn down a track, and some love one that'll just grind his lips raw, cold trailing, and sometimes you get them special dogs that can do both.
Yeah, for sure.
And that makes a big difference. So
Yeah, everyone's got their own opinion on what's a good dog, and that's
yep.
that's what's good about this is nobody has to like the
Yeah,
exact same thing. There's dogs for everyone out there.
that's exactly
And
right.
you can filter through a lot of stuff and find exactly what you want.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. What works for you might not work for the guy 2 miles down the road or the guy in a whole different state. Everybody expects different things out of their dogs, but also wants different things. And that's like you said, that's what's cool about it is you can go, you might go through a few trying to figure out exactly what you're after and finding a line or a specific guy to get dogs from that just works for you. And that's the beauty of it there for
For
sure.
sure. For sure.
So over the years, I mean, you've been around it for a long time hunting with your grandpa and that. Is there one, and I know this is hard, it's another loaded question. One hunt, one day over the years that you're like, God damn, that was just a good day. It was a hard day to beat.
Oh man, yeah, that's a tough one. That day we killed Jeff's bear, that was definitely a good one. Yeah, I honestly couldn't think
I,
of one right now. I mean,
which is
right
fine.
off the top of my head,
No, I
that's
get it. There's been a lot of good ones for sure, and some days are better than others. I mean, yeah, like that day we killed Jeff's bear. I mean, shit, that was a great day. We had some fun and we had a hell of a good night that night too. Just hanging around the fire. I mean, I think we had few people show up to camp that night. It was a good
Yeah,
night, but
yeah, it was for sure. I
and that's one thing I've loved about having dogs is, man, the people you meet and in the mountains, no matter where you meet them, doing this or meeting them on the road or buying dogs or whatever, just they're some of the best people you'll ever be around. I mean, yeah, there's some bad apples and some pieces of shit out there. There is, but I mean, honestly, most of my friends that I consider good friends, I've met through the dog world.
for sure. Yeah, no doubt. There's definitely some good and bad people in it for sure, but just pick and choose who you want to be around, and most of them are going to be pretty good dudes. So
Definitely.
give you
Well,
the shirt
shit.
off their back if they
Yep.
can.
I get it for sure. You meet a lot of great people and just down to earth good people too, for sure.
For sure.
Well, Tice, I appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. I know you've been busier lately than I think you've ever been.
Yeah, not hunting near as much as I want to, but hopefully
Oh,
that'll change here pretty quick. We'll start spending some more time in the woods. But yeah, we
yep,
talked for months to try and get this to
yep.
line up for both of us with our schedules, but
No,
that's the way life is sometimes. So
it is for sure. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Hound Talk podcast with the Cold Strike crew. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, give us a review. It means a lot to us. Thank you for your support. Now go load them dogs and take the kid hunting.